Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Let us look at compression in Spring Boot. When we have a Spring Boot REST controller, then sometimes we are returning a lot of data, and that is where compression comes in. It's very easy to enable compression. That means that every response will be gzipped, and then of course it will use much less bandwidth. Of course, it will use slightly more CPU because your Spring Boot application has to zip it before gzip the whole response before it actually returns it. So the situation is that we have some kind of a Spring Boot application right here, and then we have a lot of JSON. So we have a huge JSON payload right here, and then we have our REST controller right here. Then we have some kind of client. The cool thing about gzip and is that it is supported by most clients, actually, by most client frameworks. They actually know that if they get this gzip stuff in the header and that says that this payload is gzip, then they can actually handle it, and then they'll just unpack it, and you will actually not know about it in your code. So a lot of times it's not visible in your code at all. So you have this client right here. You will make a HTTP request right here, then you get a HTTP response right here. If you enable the compression, then it will just be gzipped just before it is sent out, and then when the client then receives it, of course, then it will be unzipped in the other end, and then the response can then be used quite easily. So that is what we're going to do tonight. First of all, let us just see where are the settings. So if you go to application, the properties, then you need to enable by setting server.compression enabled to true, and then you have to set the compression for which MIME types this should be. This should be for. You can just leave this one out. This is the default values that we have right here. And when you return something, then it's usually application slash JSON. If you return an object, at least in your REST controller, and this is when you want the gzip compression to kick in. And in this situation right here, we want a response that is at least 2048 bytes long. Character, it's bytes, and then when the payload is larger than that, then it will actually be gzipped. Just for fun, we will reduce the size a little bit. Maybe we will just set it to. We can leave this one just to show the default values, and then we can set it to something else, like just like 100, so we know that it's actually being enabled. Before we do this, let us go create our REST controller, so we have something to return. We already have a spaceship right here, so let us use that. We will create a new class, spaceship REST controller right here. You know, with Spring Boot is quite easy, and if you haven't got a project like this, then you just go in IntelliJ, and then you say File, New, Project, and then you say Spring Boot is the type. I want to use Java, and then you can choose Maven or Gradle. I'm using Gradle, and then you will set some kind of JDK version. Press next. Then you have to enable the Spring Web module right here. I've also enabled the Lombok, and I've also enabled H2 database right here, and I've also enabled the JPA, the Spring Data JPA right here, just so if I want to store something in a database, then I can easily do that. So this is our REST controller right here. So we'll annotate that with REST controller, and then we can use a request mapping. Sorry about that. Request mapping. This is where we set what kind of endpoint all of these mappings should actually start with. So here we will say spaceship. Let us just start with that. So we have request mapping of spaceship, and then we can make a get mapping right here. And here we will say give all, find all, something like this. And then we will say public, not a string. We will actually return a list of. We'll return a list of spaceships, spaceship DTO right here. So we will return a lot of spaceships right here. And how will we find those? We will just generate some. That is a short story. Actually, maybe we can make a for. Actually, we'll make a for loop right now. But we need a lot of data. So for int I equals to 0. So this is the old-fashioned way to do it. Less than 1,000. 500 maybe to begin with, and then we say I++, and here we have our list of spaceship details right here. Spaceships, that's fine, like this. Then we will say spaceships, add, and then we will create a new spaceship like this, spaceship did I enable the builder pattern? Let us just do that. It's a bit better. So I'll just enable the builder pattern since I'm using Lombok. Then I can just annotate my DTO, my spaceship DTO with that builder. Now I have the builder pattern enabled. You can see right here it has an ID name, crew members, and then a fuel percentage. Those are the field members variables on the spaceship. So we will just say that builder builds. And here now we can add the ID. The ID could then be some random number. Random number right here, and then we say crew members, new random, next int, and then the crew members should be between 0 and 10 maybe. So this is the modulus, so that means it will divide by 10 and it will give us the rest that is left. So that's an easy way to limit your randoms. Then we have the fuel percentage, again, new random. And then we will say that next double, actually next int. Is it okay? It's okay. Then we will say, then we divide it by 100. We want maximum 100. And then we say builds. And yeah, so that is our spaceship. And then we'll return that list of spaceships right there. And let us try to see what happens now. Spaceship, return. So when I say most libraries actually supported in the client side, that is like Axios, and your browser actually also supports it. So let us just do this. So I'll start up my application now and see if it runs. And if I don't think I've started actually before, so let us just start this by pressing play right here. And right now there's no gzip enabled, just so we can see the difference. And then we go, maybe we should start a browser actually, and then we'll go to spaceship, find all. Actually, I would like to curl this, so let us create some curl scripts. And an easy way to do curl scripts is to make an npm. Oh, what does it say right here? Can construct a spaceship, blah blah. Okay, there's something wrong right here. I enabled the builder pattern right here. Let me just delete this part right here. Also the required Axe constructor. Let me remove that, and then we'll just add data. So, and then we will add. Let's see build now. Let's see if we can build now. Sometimes some of these Lombok annotations, of course, sometimes they step on each other's toes. That is because when you're using the builder pattern, then it expects a default constructor. Of course, I could also just have created that, but now I've cleaned it up, so now it's a bit nicer to look at. So let us create a package.json file. This is easy if you want to run some scripts. Of course, you could also create .sh files if you want to. Then you have your shell scripts there. I just find it much easier to write npm init and then enter a lot of times. Then I'll get a package.json file right here, and here then I can have my curl scripts right here, curl spaceship, and then we can actually see what happens. So then I will say curl localhost 8080 spaceship and find all, and then -v for verbose, and then I can see all of the headers and all of what is going on. Yeah, so let's start with this. It's not HTTPS, just to make sure. Let's write HTTP. And yeah, let us start up our application. I'll press play. Oh, okay. You should actually always press debug. There's no reason for not just pressing debug. Then you can always add breakpoints later on. You cannot do it all the way around. If you start in run mode, then you cannot suddenly start to debug later on. Okay, so now the application actually started up. Let us try to curl and see what happens. Is the application running? Yes, look at all of this JSON that is returned right here, right? Whoa. It's cool, it's beautiful, it's content typed application JSON. That is awesome. Look at all of this, right? Oh, there's a lot. I just wish we had a way to not to use so much bandwidth to transfer all of this data to the client, right? In this situation, the client is actually curl, and there is a way to do that, of course, because that is the point of all of this, and the way right here is to enable the compression on the server side. We can also enable these types, but we can also just leave them out because this is the default. It's actually default. If you want the default size to be to 2048, then you can also just leave out this this setting right here, but we want to set it to 100 right now just to make sure that it is actually. Oh, then I want to stop my application actually. So now I want to stop my application. I'll go to my spaceship up right here, and now this time we will press debug instead. It's just better to start up in debug mode. It's the same. It takes the same time. It's just then I can add breakpoints in the middle if I feel like it. If I want to debug something. So then now let us run the curl spaceship once again. Now we will curl it. Of course, the curl command should just be run and not debug. So let us see what happens now. Okay. Was there any difference at all? Was there any difference at all? Was there any difference? I was looking for the Gzip header actually. Spring compression, it should actually be enabled. Maybe I'm using another profile. I also have one in production right here, but that's not the one that I'm using. Just to make sure. Let us start up the application once again, and this time let us use the browser actually. So I'll use the browser. So I will go here and I will say, I will just find my curl command, which is right here. Here we have the endpoint. So we'll say, please give me spaceship find all. And it still found out that it was quite nice, and this is what it looks like. But let us see the network, and then we will see refresh once, and then we can press once right here, and then we can see that it is Gzip encoded. There it is, content encoding Gzip. Whoa, inside the response. Whoa. That is exactly what I wanted. So, and the browser just knew that because this is Gzip encoded, then it will just unzip it. So we can, of course, we can see all of the content right here. So that is really awesome. And that's what I mean with most clients actually know how to unzip it afterwards. And here we can see accept encoding, blah blah blah. That is the request, wasn't it? No, that's a request headers, and the response headers is Gzip. Yes, quite cool. I'm a bit, what surprised me actually, I wanted also to see it with curl. Let's just press play again. Maybe I just scroll too fast. It should be there, Gzip somewhere, content encoding. It is not there. Maybe it's because the request headers transfer encoding right there. Maybe it's because the request header, maybe it's because we did not have if we go down into the request header down here, then we can see that we actually accept encoding. I think because we forgot to add this actually. Accept encoding Gzip. Yes, let's just go back right here. So now I'm going to add a header right here, add header, and this will be accept encoding, and then we will have this value right here. And of course now I need to escape those quotes right there. So we have the header accept encoding, and let's see if this works. Yes, look what happens now. Content encoding Gzip. So the client also needs to say that it actually accepts the encoding Gzip. And when it does that, then we will just send it zipped. This is really cool. This is awesome. This can make your application, if you have some big responses and some big payloads, then your application will perform much better after you add this compression right here. Then you will not use as much bandwidth. That means that you will not, your client will not have to wait that long to get the response. Of course, you use a bit more CPU because of course your Spring Boot application has to zip it, and your client also has to unzip it. And usually, of course, you don't care about you don't care that much about the client. There's plenty of power in nowadays client computers, right? So it's okay that they have to unzip a couple of thousands bytes, right? That's no problem in that. Even though if it was megabytes, it would be no problems at all. So that is quite cool. This is what I want to show you. Yes, you just said compression, and just for fun, let us try to set this up to something large, so we know that. So we can actually see that now it should not work actually. So let us see that, because now our payload is less than 100,000 bytes. So let us just see now what happens. And again, we go and run our curl command. Package right here, curl spaceship, yes. Let's see what happens this time. It is still gzip encoded right there. Accept encoding, yeah, and then we have okay. So I don't know what that one right here. Minimum response type. Maybe it will. Maybe if the client says that it need to be zipped, then maybe it will be compressed anyway. Let me just check. Run our curl command once again. Content encoding. Yeah, that's a bit funny. That's a bit funny. I would not have expected that actually. I would not have expected that because okay, let's just try this again. Press F12 in the browser, and then we press the network tab, and then we press refresh once again. Now we have find all, and we have the request right here, and then we have the response. It is still gzip encoded. Okay. I don't know what that that option actually does. Then I must admit that. Yeah. Let us just for fun, let us try to set this to false. Let me see if that works actually. So, and then we start the application once again. Boom, boom, boom. Look, now it is not. Now it's not gzip encoded. So that is it works. The true false one works. I don't know what this minimum size. I don't know why about that. Maybe we should read up about it a bit. Spring Boot. Maybe we should read up. Spring Boot. This setting right here. That's yeah. Let us. There it is. By default, responses must be at least blah blah blah. By default, responses are compressed only if their content type is one of the following. Yes. Okay, I don't understand why actually then. But that's the fun. That's the fun part about IT and programming. Sometimes you get us a good surprise. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great evening. And I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.